back. Byron's busting my chops. I've been traveling, so I wasn't the week before. I got. I've been on 3 or 4 red eyes coming back, and I used to be able to handle the red eyes. I can't handle them much anymore. The only way I can handle the red eye is the way I came back from Germany. I upgraded to business class. Let me tell you, if you're ever going to take a long trip, you need to take business class, and you got to get on a 777 200 ER, and that is the ultimate first class experience. Myron, I need even send. Did I send you some pictures on that?
Yeah.
Did you see? Okay, Byron, I'm telling you that you would have been able to lie pretty much almost flat because you're 6'6". But I am telling you, dude, it was the ultimate experience. I mean, they had Bang and Wolfson headsets. They had, and you know how you get a blanket, right, when you're in first class. They gave you a quilt. So you got like
Wow.
a fluffy quilt. They gave you slippers,
Hey,
right? I mean, American Airlines was out of this world, and it's the only thing. And I took it so I wasn't tired coming back, so I didn't have the jet lag coming back, and I wasn't tired. But unfortunately, 2 days later, you could tell I got a cold now. So I can't get a break. But it was Germany was. We were talking about Germany, Joey. Germany was beautiful, man. I don't know how
Awesome.
these guys make money, but they make money because there's a bakery like every 3 stores. There's a bakery. There's a dessert place. There's a cafe. They're drinking wine and beer at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and
yep.
they eat big lunches and small dinners. It's
Yep.
just but everything is like nothing's processed. It's like, oh my god, I never ate so much bread for a long time because I love bread. But my sister would have bread every morning, and she wanted us to have prosciutto and salami and cheese. And I didn't even want to eat that. I was trying to stop. But let me tell you something, man. She would like I would wake up and the bread was toasted, and you would smell the bread. I mean, it was the other trips were all business trips. You know, Did I tell you the story that I was in at the MGM bet? Did I tell you about that story? The 5 point spread. Did I say that last time, Byron? When the Giants lost to Cowboys,
Yeah. Yeah.
I did tell that story. Oh yeah,
Yep.
where everybody threw. I haven't traveled so much, I forgot the story. So, man, I've been just flying back and forth all the way around. So now I'm back. I'm excited. We got a lot to talk about, but the trip was pretty good, and everything was a little cold and rainy. But outside of that, and that may have gotten me sick, you know what I mean? Because I ain't used to that. And then I got back. I was fine Friday. I was fine Saturday. I was fine Sunday. I rested. Something just happened Monday night. I guess my body just took its toll. So, but let's get ready to rumble. We got a lot. We got lots to talk about. All right. So one of the key parts that you saw Santiago posted. Let's just go here. Top headlines. Okay. Is it true that the Mara stated that they're going to do nothing about Shane and Dable?
It's
Correct.
true. Correct.
Okay, I'm about to throw myself out the window, and I'm not on I'm not on the first floor now. Remember when I used to say that when I was at my house? I had a 1 story house, right? I'm on the 6th floor, bro, and where 6th floor starts like 4 highs up, I'm pretty high up. So if I show you my background and scenery, I can't believe it, Byron. I mean, listen to me. I'm impressed too because I didn't think Barkley was going to get more than 150 yards because I thought they were going to take him out. And he even said, "Let the other guys run." He got like you said, he had 177 yards. And the only reason I didn't
Yep.
think he was going to get 177 because I thought they'd take him out. And they had him. Barkley. The Sirianni went up to him. Did you see that clip? Sirianni went up to him and said, "Hey, listen, we're gonna, if you want to continue playing." He goes, "No, let the other guys eat." I mean, Barkley's a stand-up guy. I know you're a hater, Byron. I know you're a hater. All right, no problem with that. But um, the guy was, let the other players play, right? And he had a big game, and I you said it, and I said it. What are your thoughts? I mean, I'm talking a lot, and I'll let you go. What are your thoughts on that? I thought something was going to
Ah.
happen. You thought something was going to happen too.
Yep.
It's
Absolutely. And it
embarrassing.
did. I said 150 yards and 3 touchdowns that somebody was going to fire. He got 177 by the third quarter. So if he had played more, he'd have went over 200, easy. But it doesn't. It's at the point now where it just really doesn't matter because they're not going to do anything to Shane. They're not going to do anything to Dable. They're safe for the rest of this year. People forget that Dable's calling the plays. They only ran four times, four against the Philadelphia Eagles where you should run the ball or at least attempt it. They didn't even attempt to run the ball. And then all of a sudden, like usual, as Daniel Jones did this, and and then they replaced him, in the fourth quarter with Drew Lock. Everybody wanted to see that. That's
he looked
here,
worse.
that's what they want to see now. Yeah, he got sacked 8 times. They got
fumble the ball.
They got the kid that's playing left tackle now since they don't have Andrew Thomas for the rest of the year. Shouldn't even be a left tackle. He was drafted as a guard. By guess who? Shane. And then the other, because him and the McKeithen, the two that they drafted from UNC, a couple of years ago, they already cut the one guy that was a draft pick. Now they should cut this guy so the other one to have somebody to play with because he stinks too. He's awful. And Evan Neal, what does that say about Evan Neal? The number 7 overall pick in the draft can't even get on the field with this other guy out there. Can't even get on the field. That's how bad he is. So I'm done. As you can see now, I'm a Detroit Lions newest fan, and I'm not jumping the ship completely. I got one foot in there, and I got the other foot, in the water a little bit. But it's bad. It's really bad.
Joe, what are your thoughts? I mean, you saw Hard Knocks. You saw what Barkley has been doing. I got some other information on Barkley I'm going to bring up. And you saw what he did to the Giants. And look, just before Joe, you go, Byron said, he had 177 third quarter. They wanted Barkley to get over 200 to break. I forgot what it was. And that's why Sirianni went to talk to him. And he goes, no, it's okay. Let the other guys, let the other guys eat. That's why I like Barkley. He was always a stand-up guy. I don't care what the Giants wouldn't be winning with him, but they definitely be sure would be a lot better with him. You know what I mean? And I just think they did him wrong, and we got nothing for a guy that's in the top five of possibly continuing to be MVP. Joe?
Apparently, Saquon Barkley said that he didn't think he would get any boos. And of course, the entire stadium booed him. But Giants fans, why are you booing Saquon Barkley? What did Saquon Barkley do? You saw Hard Knocks. That's not Saquon Barkley leaving is not Saquon Barkley's fault. That's the GM. That's the organization. That's who you should be booing. And for them to say, "Oh, we're going to keep Dable. We're going to keep Shane. We're going to keep these guys." Are you kidding me? You're the ones that decided to give an extension to Danny Dimes, who is a complete disaster. They did one good thing in like the past 3 years, and that's draft Malik Neighbors. That's it. Everything else has been a disaster. And I understand you don't want to keep firing coaches, but my goodness. Okay, fine. You want to keep Dable? Fine. But the guy that picked these people and let Barkley go, that guy shouldn't be fired. He should be arrested, deported, sent up to Canada.
Oh, man.
Look, it's just terrible. I mean, I don't understand. Someone asked if he does well, I said both of them. Remember, my number one thing, if I had to pick one to go, Shane, if I had to pick one of the two to go, I would pick Shane first. Who would you have picked, Byron?
Dable, because Dable took over the play calling. It's supposed to be his baby right now, so he should go first, and that way I put the other guy on notice. Like he has to step up his game, as far as getting another coach. But yeah, Dable took full account, as far as had bad, the offense is, and the offense was terrible. It has been terrible all year.
Joe, who would you pick to go if you had to pick only one? The kick off the island.
I would pick Shane because he picked these players. He made these player development decisions. And like I said, you got 2 good players. Malik Neighbors, Dexter Lawrence, Andrew Thomas, but unfortunately he's hurt. That's like 3 good players. The rest, I don't know what the heck's going on. It's a failure.
And not only that, the way Shane talked about Barkley in Hard Knocks. You know what I mean? And then him saying, "Well, we're not paying the $40 million for a guy just to hand off the ball." Well, they're paying $50 million for a guy in Philadelphia to just hand off the ball, and it seems to be
Yeah.
working. Okay, and I still think the Philadelphia's got a problem because if they don't keep giving Barkley the ball, they got an issue. I think with AJ Brown back is there, but Philadelphia's got some bad mojo. Something's wrong there. But anyhow, we'll go off from there. Let's go and look at. I pulled up some stuff here. You know, Daniel Jones stats. You know,
You're
he's got
killing me, man.
He's got it's just terrible, man. He had a good game against the Bengals, 205 yards, but he's got a 77-yard rating, a 57 percent rating against the Seahawks. He did well, and you guys were all excited because we beat them. He got 81, then 109 against the Browns. I mean, he's 44 against the Vikings, 80. He's got 4 interceptions and 6 TDs. I mean, look, I'm not blaming. I never been a full all in to Daniel Jones. Would I like to see him do well? Yeah, but I think it's bigger than we've talked about this before. I think it's bigger than Daniel Jones. Um, I don't think we have any backup quarterback. Drew Lock looks so terrible. I mean, terrible. And then, you never know. Maybe Tommy Cutlets could be the next, Brock. I'm not saying that, Brian, but right now we're so bad, it doesn't matter. And back to what we were saying. You know how you said we ran the ball X amount of times, but you argued with me the other day when I said, why didn't the heck we run the ball no matter what? And I think, Joe, you were on that show too.
Yes.
Okay, when we were playing against Dallas, why didn't you run the ball? Everybody ran the ball against Dallas has been successful. Run the ball against Philadelphia, the same thing. You're losing. So you guys can say what you want. Well, you can't get in the. You're losing anyways. Run
who's the
the ball, man.
But
Sorry,
who's calling the plays?
Dable.
Who's calling the plays? Okay,
Dable.
there you go. That answers.
Yeah, but let's just forget about that. Let's talk about the point where I was saying when the argument between us three was, well, you can't run the ball when you're only getting this and that. Like, give him the ball, because we're going to get into Derrick Henry in a little bit because we had that conversation too on that same show. Okay. But you're better off running the ball because throwing it ain't helping us. And look, to be honest with you, that Philadelphia game, even though they ended up blowing them out, in that first half, they both were terrible. I mean, it was even on sacks in the first half. So Philadelphia may have blown them out later on and getting some stuff. They beat a bad team in the second half, but they looked just as bad in the first half. Joe?
I don't know what's wrong with Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts has regressed. I'm not sure. There's just something off about Philadelphia. But the main problem is Danny Dimes. He is holding onto the ball way too long, and it doesn't matter who the play caller is.
Don't call him Dimes anymore. He don't throw dimes.
Trash. They call him
Loonies. I don't know what's the German currency. Euro. He's Danny Euros.
They're calling trash can Dan now.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't throw dimes. He's Danny Rubies.
I mean, he didn't even throw for 100 yards. So
run it.
He's not it. Even if you run it, if you can't pass, then you can't run.
You're right, man. But I just one of those things that if one thing ain't working, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again with the same result, that's insanity, right? So why not do it? So anyhow,
but they supposedly fix the offensive line. Okay, Andrew Thomas goes down. You put a guy at left tackle who obviously can't play the position. They should have taken. I'm not an expert. They should have taken the guy that's the right tackle that's playing right now, shifted him over to the left, put Evan Neal back out there to see if this kid can play. Instead of just, we're going to put this one over here that we know stinks. And see how that works. He gave up 2 sacks. I mean, it was like they were awful. It was like, really? Why don't you just go ahead, walk up to the line and say, all right, go ahead, go smack the quarterback in the mouth, because that's exactly what happened.
Well, it's look, Byron, I know you're not a Barkley fan. I said it several years ago how I felt about Barkley, and I still do. I'm happy for Barkley's success, right? You put him against that line, they shouldn't have. Like Joey said, there's no reason for them to be booing Barkley when when at the same time by the fourth quarter, didn't you say the Giant Stadium was empty with Giants fans? Okay,
No, they
so
took
So Barkley
the
pretty much ran the same fans that booed him. He ran them out of the stadium.
yeah, the stadium was filled with Eagle fans. It was green. The whole stadium was practically green, and you got Mara sitting up there like a dope. Look at this, man. When he started hitting him in his pocket, what people need to do is like they did back in the day: stop going to the games, stop buying merchandise. Just stop. Just what jersey? Whose jersey are you going to buy in the team? Besides neighbors?
But if you find someone selling their season tickets, let me know because I'll buy them. Just to buy them, I would. I still would love to get tickets. All right, well let's look at this real quick. All right, let's talk about some Barkley stats, okay? And remember, we were having a lot of heat when I was talking about Barkley. Okay, this guy, and look now they're starting to they're giving him the ball more, right? He's had 176 yards, averaged 10 yards a carry, 1 TD and 2 receptions. Okay. He's got 658 yards in 6 games. What do you got to say about that, Joe? 650 yards in 6 games.
He averaged 10.4 yards per carry.
It was a first down. First down every time he gave him the ball.
Yeah, every time he touched the ball, it was a first down.
Let's just do it again. And that was by the third quarter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he had his 2 big runs too. That Jack.
But Byron, you keep saying that. But that's who he is. He has big runs almost in every one of his games.
I know.
His first game, he had a big run. He had a big catch for a run. That's the player he is, right? And so
I get that part.
That's who he is. So it's got to factor into it. You know what I mean? He's not a kind of guy that's going to grind out 4 or 3 and 4 and 3. Why should he? If I were him, I wouldn't want to take that punishment. I'd rather get my same yardage with longer runs and not take shorter runs for massive hits. And then he ran over that defensive back for the Giants.
Yeah, he was sending a message with that one.
Oh yeah, he could have ran out of bounds. He ran him over. So I'm happy for Saquon's success. I still feel he's a Giant.
Boo!
But man, let me tell you something. His numbers, he if he continues his number, he's up there for MVP, man. Because you got 6 games. You figure in 12 games, that's 1,300. In 17 games, he may break 2,000 yards. Remember, he's got also Derrick Henry. We're going to be talking about in a little bit. But Barkley's having a hell of a season. He's got 16 receptions. He's got 5 TDs. I'm surprised he's only got 5 TDs. But then again, he's doing what he needs to do. But I think the Eagles in general got an issue. But they got to ride Barkley as much as they can. But Joe, any thoughts on Barkley and his success?
Yeah, I mean, this shouldn't be a surprise. I mean, he did well with the Giants, and the Giants had a lesser team. So now the Eagles are a more talented team, and he was supremely motivated for this game. He wanted to show everybody in New York what was going on and get his revenge. So I don't know what he said before the game. He probably said the same cliches like, "Oh, it doesn't mean that much to me" or something like that. Like no, it meant everything to him, and you could tell. And it was nice of him to not really stick it in and just to sit out the fourth quarter, but because he already made his points. It's like you guys made a mistake in letting me go.
Yeah, and it's indicative to the organization and the like we told you, the organization is got a major issue there. All right, let's get into let's talk a little bit about the other running back here before we get into Derrick Henry. Okay, first of all, the reason I'm going to get to Derrick Henry, I want to bring up. Did you see what Jerry Jones is? this is the worst year I've ever seen Jerry Jones as it relates to the Cowboys in the media. The Cowboys in the media and Jerry Jones in the media. Did you hear what Jerry Jones said about? You remember, Cowboys had a shot at get Derrick Henry. Okay, and he kind of downplayed it instead of just owning up to making a mistake that I should have got him. He's acting like maybe he wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have gotten the same amount of carries. Why? Your passing game is terrible. Those receivers are off. I was seeing, Dan Orlovsky made a great presentation today on route running. Byron, like, you want to do a dig, you're going to fake it out and you come back and they're not reading each other. You're supposed to read the inside D-back. The D-back's playing you inside, fake them one way, cut the other way, and Dak throws it to the flat where the receiver should have ran, and the receiver ran a more of a corner route. I mean, they're off. So why wouldn't you be giving it to Henry? And one more thing. Remember, I think we both said this, Byron. Derrick Henry going to Ravens was a great move. That's a power pick. You're talking I think we talked about this before. You got two guys that literally just in rushing could do over 200 yards with the quarterback, right? And Jerry Jones playing off that, Derrick Henry probably wouldn't have fit into their offense. So the Ravens offense, he wasn't really a fit. Remember, Harbaugh in the beginning was like, well, we're not going to just hand the ball off. Well, you better start handing the ball off to Derrick Henry because he's delivering. What are your thoughts on what? Let's start first on Jerry Jones' comments about Derrick Henry, and then we'll go on to a little bit of his stats. Byron?
It's another thing, just Jerry Jones being Jerry Jones. He probably realized that he messed up by not signing this guy because I think he lives in Dallas or whatever during off season or something, and he was sitting right there in his lap for the taking, and now he has to come up with excuses, as far as, oh well, he wouldn't get the same amount of carries, he wouldn't get this, he wouldn't get that. So he's Derrick Henry. You're going to turn around and you're going to hand the ball to this guy 20, 25, 30 times a game if you have to. He's that kind of back. So Jerry Jones has to admit that he messed up with this one.
Joe?
Jerry Jones is I'll keep it PG. He's a jerk. Yes. He's an idiot. Who on earth thinks that they could run a team? What owner thinks they could run a team? Come on, bro. Play fantasy football if you want to run a team. This is a $1 billion franchise. What are you doing?
$9 billion.
Many billion. What he can't say, oh yeah, we made a mistake, because then that would be throwing his current players under the bus. But the fact that he said he wouldn't be a good fit is the dumbest thing ever, because Derrick Henry is basically Ezekiel Elliott on steroids. They had, Zeke in his prime was a big guy that could run well. That's Derrick Henry right now. Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry might be the best to ever do it. So for him to say it's not a good fit, like, you idiots, that's how much of a fit it was. They actually brought Ezekiel Elliott back, and now he's an old man that's all, broken and stuff. But yeah, he would have been a perfect fit. For some reason, I don't know what's going on with their finances, but the Cowboys decided to not spend any money in the offseason, and it's really hurting them now, because they would have been really good without Derrick Henry.
Well, think about it though, Joe. The difference though with Jerry Jones admitting, saying, "Hey, you know what? We may have missed that one on Derrick Jones." He could say that. Why? Because if another GM said that, he can get fired. Well, Jerry Jones can't fire himself because he's the GM and the owner. So he literally could have just said, "You know what, man? We missed on that one. It would have been nice to have Derrick Henry. He's having a great year. That's it. He's got, he's got no one to report to, right?" And then, I'm impressed with Barkley's stats. Look at these stats. Derrick Henry has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, he has 7 games, but he's got 873 yards, 8 TDs. You know how much he averaged against the Bucks? 11.3 a carry. He had 2 running backs that were averaging first downs. Now, he only had 15 attempts, but, they ended up winning pretty big there. But Derrick Henry he's having big runs too, Byron. It's not like he's not having big runs, but look at he's got, he had a game in the and look at, and this is the sad part where Harbaugh again, why did these coaches say dumb stuff? Harbaugh, look at he had 13 carries right against the Chiefs, 46 yards, 18 carries, 84 yards, 25 carries, 151, 24, 199. At what point, Derrick Henry is known to be better as the game gets on. A guy 250 pounds at that speed hitting you, it's going to tire you out. And for Harbaugh to say, hey, we're not going to give him the ball 20, you better give him the ball that many times unless you're winning, because Lamar Jackson is also having a hell of a season, but he's having a hell of a season because of Derrick Henry, right? Because now you got to worry about that. But Derrick Henry is having an incredible season. I'm happy for him. Also, as another player that people think that was finished, and I think he's on the right team. I think that was the best move for him to be. I don't want to see him on Dallas, obviously, but I think it's a good move. Byron, what do you think about Henry's performance and how that's helping the Ravens? And what about Harbaugh's comment?
He's a great player. That's all you can say. The 6'4", 250-pound running back with track speed. The kid. He's always been a great run. In high school, at Alabama. When he was with the Titans, and now with the Baltimore Ravens. He has a great offensive line in front of him. He has a 300-pound fullback, which I said before, that's blocking for him. And he's that guy, right? Even though he runs straight up and down like Eric Dickerson used to run. But it's just something different the way I think Dickerson was like 225 or whatever he was. Or you have a 250-pound running back.
Dickerson was taller.
Yeah. Nah, I don't think he was tall as this guy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Dickerson probably about 6'2", 6'3". He wasn't 6'4". What's his name is all of 6'4". He's all of it. And a lot of DBs and safeties make business decisions when they see him screaming down the field.
Hey, what do you think about Harbaugh when he said they're both 6'3", by the way?
No, Derrick Henry looked bigger, man, for some reason. What did Harbaugh say? I forgot that one.
Harbaugh was not like in the beginning of the season, like we're not going to hand off the ball 20-something times to our running back. Remember, that's what he said in the beginning. So when when they lost to the Chiefs, I told you the two stats. His first two games, he only gave him the ball 13 and then 18 times. He said, well, we're not going to give him the ball 20-something times. And then after the third game, 25, 24, then 24 in the next game against the Commanders. You better give him the ball. I guess watch what you say. Because why wouldn't you want to give him the ball? That's what I'm saying.
As long as they don't do, when talking about the future, as long as they don't do what they did last year when they got to the playoffs, and then all of a sudden Lamar Jackson wasn't Lamar Jackson. He was, I don't know who he was. Now he has somebody he could turn around and hand the ball off to when he gets cold. It's going to be cold wherever, Kansas City or Buffalo, wherever they're playing. And you want that kind of running back there in the cold, and he, his engine's going to get warmed up, and ain't nobody going to want to tackle anybody in the cold, and he's coming at you. But, hey, 25, 30, give the ball to him. He's running that rock.
Joe?
I think when Harbaugh said that, either somebody had a talk with him or he had a look in the mirror and said, you know what, maybe I'm wrong, because maybe we should give it to this physical freak. Derrick Henry is, I think, no doubt going to be in the Hall of Fame, and he's still in his prime. It is disgusting. It is disgusting how good and fast and big he is. He's the Steelers tried to get their own Derrick Henry, Najee Harris, and he's not even close to it. He's just an absolute freak. And yeah, he's in the best possible situation, because you could either give the ball to Derrick Henry, or Lamar Jackson can run it himself, or he could pass. It's just they're a perfect team right now. They look unstoppable. So it's amazing. But so he is in the best possible situation. But yeah, Derrick Henry is an absolute freak, and somebody should have taken him. Whether it be Dallas or some other team, like just about any other team could have used a Derrick Henry.
And then look what it's done to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's averaging 118 passer rating. right? He was 158 against the Buccaneers, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Okay, he's got 1,800 yards. Man, he's having an awesome season. But again, his biggest question is playoff time. Do we get Lamar playoff? Do we get Lamar's MVP to be a playoff, or do we get Lamar, busting the playoff? I think he's got a better chance now because he's got Derrick Henry. But all right, well let's move on that. But those are some pretty good stats for two guys. Those are some impressive stats. Go ahead, Byron.
The problem is that Todd Monken is the OC for them, and he's the one that got a case of I can't remember, what to do. Lamar, he's the problem. So as long as he does his job and keeps them doing what they're doing now, they're going to go far in the playoffs. But it's the OC that was the problem last year.
Well, there's a problem every year when they're in the playoffs, though.
Nah, but you have the MVP quarterback, and all of a sudden now you want to throw the ball instead of letting him do his thing. And it was a couple plays that that if they could have took back, that they probably would have won that game. But it's just the fact that the Monken just changed the whole thing instead of doing what they did for 17 games or 18 games.
Right. Well, hey, and then let's get back to the NFC East. As our show normally dominates. When we talked about Philly, we talked about Dallas. How about Washington, man? We said we said Washington's going to be dangerous to watch out for, and they're 4-2. They're on top of the division right now. Now, hopefully, Jaden Daniels is Jaden Daniels, right?
Yeah.
Is not hurt too much, but they're playing some pretty good football. What are your thoughts, Byron?
They're a lot better, than people thought. He's not a bad quarterback at all. The kid is a Heisman Trophy winner, so he can't be that bad. The only problem that I saw or thought them coming out that he's a little slim. He's tall, but he's a little slim, and you can't run around the way he did in the SEC. When you come to the NFL, you're not going to do it. And then look what happened. You got little plastered there, and now I think he hurt his ribs or something. But yeah, as long as he stays in the pocket, and runs when he can, and when he has to, and not all that unnecessary stuff, he can carry them pretty far. Because the NFC East is kind of weak.
Yeah, Joe.
Isn't it amazing? Basically, the only difference in Washington between last year and this year is Jaden Daniels, and look how much of a difference having a good quarterback does. He basically transformed that entire team, and it's
ownership and coaching too. There was a lot of changes.
Well, that's the thing about the coaching, and I'm an absolute shock, and I was completely wrong about this when they hired Cliff Kingsbury to be the offensive coordinator. I thought, why the heck are you doing this? He was a failure in Arizona. He was just a good college coach, and then he goes to the pros and he was an absolute disaster. Why are you bringing him back? Well, I was completely wrong, because he is making Jaden Daniels, I don't know what they're doing, but it is a perfect combination. And yeah, I hope he stays healthy. I think there's a question now whether he's going to play the next game. Hopefully he's okay, but yeah, basically one guy can transform an entire team, and that's all you need. And that's when the Giants were thinking during the draft, they were looking at quarterbacks. They were looking at Drake May and Daniels and this guy, and they decided we'll stick with Trash Can Dan. Well, there you go. Hopefully next year they'll get their quarterback or whatever, but that's all it takes. We'll
stick with Trash Can Dan and get rid of our running back for nothing.
Yeah.
like the worst part about that is they got nothing for a guy that's having an MVP season. It's disgusting. So all right, let's get into our special guest number one thing. Let's talk about the Steelers. I had this grin from chin to chin when Russell Wilson got picked as a starter, and I called it, Joe. You were, Vic, I don't know if I would do it. I don't know, man. I'm telling you, Tomlin didn't pick him. If he wins more games, I was kind of, you were swaying me a little bit. I'll give you that. I was starting to sway because of your argument. But from day one, I was telling you Russell Wilson is their starter when he's healthy, right? And I go, until Tomlin comes out and says it isn't, I don't believe it was. And, I'll be honest with you, I started doing the Byron, started flip flopping. I started flip flopping. I started flip flopping, because Byron flip flops and then wants to go back to the tape, right? But I started flip flopping. But man, when Wilson got in there, I was a little nervous because of how he started. But man, he delivered. So I'll let you take over from here, Joe. I'll let you take over. We put 37 points up in his first game, 400 yards. Come on.
When Tomlin made the decision, they say, we're going with Russell Wilson. The entire country said, are you crazy? This is ridiculous. You're 4-2. Why would you go away from Justin Fields? You're winning with Justin Fields. What's wrong with you? And Tomlin said, nah, Russell Wilson's our guy. I want to see what we got in him. And kaboom. That's all we needed. And they were under restrictions with Justin Fields because they didn't trust him because he's improved. He's just not there yet. But Russell Wilson's a future Hall of Famer. And also, he's hungry as hell because he wants to prove that his time in Denver that's not who he is. And even as he's the guy that got traded from Seattle. That's not who he is. He wants to rehabilitate his reputation. So he was highly motivated, and he was awesome. He was making the throws. He was making the offense go. When he was able to pass and they were able to run better. Everything was working. It was beautiful. It's perfect.
Yeah, Joe, but you said if they're winning with Justin Fields, you said you wouldn't put him in.
Me and the entire country said that. It wasn't just me.
I don't care, but you're the guy on my show. That's all that's all I want to know. Okay, and I said no. That's not Tomlin's style. They got a handshake deal. The brother took $1 million. It's costing Tomlin nothing. He has to see, Byron, I'm going to let you go. He has to see what he has in Wilson because he wants to win a Super Bowl. He's not trying to get another winning season, right? Number one. Number two, Justin Fields started getting better and started playing good. But it took Russell Wilson several games. Okay, it took Justin Fields several games. It took Russell Wilson one game to get them into 400 yards. It took Justin Fields 4 or 5 games, right, to start getting them up there. And your offense was balanced, dude. You had 409 yards, 260 passing, and 150 on the ground. That's a nice stat. Yeah. That's a really nice stat. Go ahead, Mr. Byron.
Come on, man. You know I'm a Justin Fields guy, man. I'm riding.
I know you are.
I'm riding that train. I'm riding.
Your train is in the yard right now.
They were putting they had the reins on Justin instead of letting him cook. Just don't lose a game. We have a good defense. We had a good running game. Just don't lose a game. Just do it. Every now and then you'll take off and run the ball. That's what they're doing, Justin. They didn't give him the full playbook. They just gave him a little taste. A little taste.
It's true. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Now, in their defense, they did that because Justin Fields wasn't exactly perfect. He was fumbling. The difference is they were lucky enough to recover their own fumbles. He was making some bad throws. So it's not like, oh, just let Justin Fields cook. Like, no, they had to put the restrictions because Justin Fields was doing things he was going back to some of his old habits in Chicago. And that's the thing. The plan was to let Justin just learn this year and learn to get rid of those bad habits. So for him to be 4-2 is a major victory and an improvement, and it's great that that's happened. But like you said, they had the restrictions on him, and there was no restrictions on Russ. And they let Russ cook, and Russ cooked a great meal.
Well, time out a second. Justin Fields, the game before, put up 400 yards. So don't act like, they didn't let him loose. He put up 400 yards. He was running, he was throwing, he was doing everything well. That's where the surprise was when you put in Russell Wilson. So you're right. Byron. Maybe they didn't let him lose, but they had to be careful too. They wanted, this is my starter and he's hurt. This is my backup. So they just want to be able to win the games until this guy's ready. But he started playing better and better every game. Okay. And then they were opening it up for him. But, Tomlin's smart coach. He's got to see like what's going to happen come playoff time. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? You know what I mean? If Russell has to continue playing because look, the fans were calling for Justin Fields in the first half.
Yes.
They were booing him. They were calling him because he looked really bad in that one pass he threw, that swing pass or that screen. I mean, he just threw it to nowhere, like got lost. Yeah, I got a little nervous there, but then he came through, and I want to see Russell Wilson do well. Why? Because what happened to him with Sean Payton, and Byron. We also don't know how much Justin Fields is a student of the game as Russell Wilson is, right? You also don't know is Justin Fields one of those guys that is going to be studying as much, because I know the work ethic, or at least I heard of the work ethic of Russell Wilson when he was with Seattle, studying the playbook, looking at all the plays, looking at the digital, at the Microsoft Surface, doing that. Now, hopefully Justin Fields learning that, but you don't know if maybe that's also some of the part of it. Byron?
Yeah, but you also had the Russell Wilson where, what the rumors were that he was kind of set off from his teammates at Seattle. And when he got to Denver, he had his office or whatever. So now I guess he realizes that you can't do the same things that he did in them two other places, that he does have to be part of, the team. He has to be a team guy. I don't know his work habits, as far as, studying the game or whatever, but it was just those two little things there where, people had all these comments about, he's over here and, got his own office over here and that kind of stuff. That was the only bad thing, you basically heard about the guy. But, he got out there and he did his thing. And, but Justin Fields is still my guy. I still had to throw that out there.
Hey, listen, Justin Fields, I believe, will be the future of Pittsburgh. But I think Tomlin is at the point, I need to win a Super Bowl. Right. And I think that he feels that Russell Wilson, I feel comfortable. If you're going into the playoffs and both are playing well, okay, if it's everything even outside of their experience, who are you going to pick? You can't tell me, Byron, you're going to say you're going to pick Justin Fields.
Of course, you're going to pick the guy with more experience in the playoffs. Come on, I even know that. I'm better than that.
I know. So that's my point. I think that's the deal that they need to see. And I'm happy for Russell. And, I couldn't wait. I was glad that Joe was coming on this show, because when Santiago told me, I says, I can't wait, because I'm going to remind Joey that I told him Russell Wilson is the starter, man. Tomlin is a stand-up guy. He's a man of his word. And Russell delivered. And Russell, and hopefully, that's one game. Let's see what happens. And again, it was against the Jets. So, that's another thing we got to talk about. But
I got one question about the Steelers with Mr. Joe. Peyton, what's that kid's name? Peyton Wilson. Is that the linebacker's name?
Yes.
How's he playing?
Great. He's exactly what they needed. He is a speed demon. He's a fast linebacker, and he's really using his speed. And for a rookie, he is playing great. I think he's playing probably half the snaps. I think he's splitting time, but still, he's doing great. And his speed is a huge asset. And they also got Patrick Queen from the Ravens this year, and he's doing all right. But still, it's a great combo. But yeah. Peyton Wilson's doing great.
Yeah, because he's a kid that should have been a first-round pick that slipped in the draft because I think they said he had like knee issues coming out of North Carolina State. And I just was checking. I thought he was pretty good in college. And
Exactly. He had knee issues. Yeah, he actually doesn't have an ACL or something like that, or some weird thing like crazy, that. So people were scared by the medicals, but yeah, he's been great.
So Joe, how did you? So let me honestly. Right when Russell Wilson was named the starter, first thing went through your mind?
I understood why, but I also thought, okay, if you're going to do that, then you have to keep up the winning. you can't, he can't have you can't let Russell Wilson have like a game or two to get back in shape or whatever, because we were winning with Justin Fields. So if Russell Wilson was going to come in here, it's like, hey, you better start off great and be great from the beginning.
He didn't
And
start off great.
He didn't. Yeah, he was always so really rusty.
How did you feel when his start? Like, what was going through your mind? Help me. I know what was going through my mind, but I'm not a Pittsburgh fan, right? I'm a Tomlin fan. I'm a Russell Wilson fan, and I have respect for Steelers. But as a fan, right, and a podcast a host. And as a fan, how did you feel when you made your comment about the start? How did you feel? What was going through your mind on his rusty start? Were you getting nervous? Were you calling for Justin Fields? What was happening in your mind?
I was a little bit nervous, but I was also angry with the fans that were calling for Justin Fields, because I thought that was extreme. Like, at least give him a half, at least give him a couple quarters. They were booing into like the middle of the first quarter. Like, God, give the guy a chance.
Yeah.
So I thought it's like, okay, let him, because he's extremely rusty. He basically hasn't played a game since last December. He hasn't really practiced this entire training camp because he's been injured. So yeah, he's gonna be rusty. But then the rust came off and we're off to the races.
And then how was the fans and how was the media after the game? How was the fans and everything after the game? Like,
loving it. They love him. Russell Wilson can run for mayor right now and he would win.
Oh, that's awesome. And look, he gave kudos to Justin Fields.
Yes.
He did give him the kudos, and he seems to be like, him and Justin Fields seem to have a pretty good relationship.
And I'll give kudos to Justin Fields, because they asked Justin Fields the week before the game, they said, how do you feel about this? He said, honestly, I understand, because I haven't been playing good enough. He was very critical of himself. He said, I still have a lot to learn. And if I played better, then I would still be starting, but I didn't play well enough. So this is the situation. So he was very understanding of the situation and really owned it. And I give him a ton of credit for that.
Byron?
Yeah, well, Joey just sit there and said that, I guess he is learning, as far as, being a little bit student of the game and understanding that, he wasn't playing well and that things like this happen, in the NFL. So maybe, he'll take this and just grow, just make him a better player and a better person.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like Justin Fields too, so it's not a matter. I remember I started the season saying that the Steelers got the steal of the century, right? Joe, did I not say that? That was the greatest move, getting Wilson and then getting Fields, right? They got two quarterbacks for $7 million, right? The other team, that's 1/10 or not 1/10, maybe like 1/6 of what they're paying all the other quarterbacks, right? Because I think Justin's like 4 to 6 million, and Wilson is like 1 point something million, even though he's getting 37 million from the Broncos. I said that was a steal, right? And I just think that this is good for Justin. He's got a good coach. It's a good organization. This will be his team. He's just got to learn it. He's got to learn how to win. He's got to learn the Steeler way, and he's got a chance to hopefully Tomlin stays. If he can play and Tomlin has a good quarterback, there may be a couple championships down the line between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields for Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? You got a phenomenal defense. Now you just got to get past that. You got to get past that the playoff piece, right? So kudos to Tomlin, kudos to Wilson, kudos to Justin Fields, and for the Steeler Nation. I was happy. I was happy you coming on the show too, Joe, because I wanted to talk about this, right? And I'm not even a Steeler. I need something to be rooting for. So since I ain't rooting for my Giants are killing me. And then
you won't be rooting next week when the Steelers play Giants either. You won't be rooting then either.
I won't be rooting that. Yeah, that's it's hard. That's gonna be hard. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but hey, I know we're a little bit running over time, and I got to give me some rest. But there's so much to talk about. What do you think about what's happening with the Jets? I think they will get better, but man, I think firing Salah. I think firing Salah was a bad move. We'll see because their defense, you know, Salah still protected the defense, and they look terrible. You know, they look terrible, and Aaron Rodgers is playing bad. Let me tell you that interception that was a bounce pass killed him. It killed him. And I think once him and Devontae Adams get going, but they got to win. They put themselves in a hole.
On paper, the Jets look great. Getting Devontae Adams to go along with Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall is an amazing running back. On paper, they look amazing, but I don't know what for some reason they decided to hand the franchise over to Aaron Rodgers, a 40-year-old man. And he's still playing okay. He's not playing bad, but he's also a weird egomaniac, idiot jerk. And I don't know. There's something very wrong with that team. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? You could probably make movies about if we had access to what was going on behind the scenes. But there is just something very not right with that team. And yeah, they'll probably get it together because you just have too much talent there. I mean, that offense is going to be amazing once they get Devontae Adams going. But still, yeah, the defense is falling apart. And I don't know. It's just something's very off with them.
Byron?
Truth be told, Aaron Rodgers is the actual GM, coach / president of that team. It was his decision to fire. Went to the owner, Robert Saleh. It was his decision that he wanted Devontae Adams, and Lazard is another one of his receivers. That last year, when they brought in like 2 or 3 of his receivers, he gets everything he wants, but he forgets that he's a 40-year-old quarterback coming off Achilles injury, and now he has a hamstring problem. I think they said knee and ankle all going on right now. He's 40 years old. The offensive line is a patchwork offensive line. They put together the best they could. They have a great running back in Brees Hall and the other kid that they got from Wisconsin, the rookie, Braylon Allen, I think his name is. They got, but for some reason, it's not clicking. It's not going to work. And it's just a mess when you give the one guy that much power, and it's heading down. When Brady did it, and he didn't get anybody fired. But when Brady, hey, I want Gronk, I want this guy, I want that guy, he made it work. Rodgers is getting the guys he wants, and it's still kind of a work in progress.
Well, Brady's my boy, so difference with Brady though, when Brady went to the Bucks, Bruce Arians chewed him out, and Brady accepted it. Okay,
Brady didn't get Bruce Arians fired.
Brady didn't get Bruce Arians fired. Bruce Arians called his ass out, yelled at him just like he yelled at anybody else, and Brady dealt with it. And Bruce Arians is your guy, right? So I'm just saying, yeah. And Brady dealt with it, and he won a world championship in his first year, not at 40 years old. And Brady didn't get injured in his second year when he went. So, Brady stayed healthy. You got to give him credit. That guy is enduring. So, all right, we'll move on from there. Last piece, there's 2 more pieces I want to talk about before we end this show. And Joey, tell us about your show. Is one, man, is the Kansas City Chiefs just like lucky? Does the NFL just want them to win? Just like, what is it that they're, because getting Andre Hopkins, obviously they've got injuries. Their offense is not looking as good, but Spags is incredible, man. And they're a 5-0 team that still can get better. Byron?
For some reason, Patrick Mahomes not playing very well, at all. He's not Patrick. I think he's throwing like 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions or something like that off the top of my head. But it's that defense that's carrying that team right now. Yeah, and it's strange, not strange, but the way they drafted. They got an edge rusher. They picked up Karlaftis. They got a linebacker. Belton, I forgot what the kid's name is, the linebacker, and then all the all the corners and safeties that they drafted, over the years, and they built like a top 3 defense. Forsbergs, who has a history of turning defenses loose on people during the playoffs and the Super Bowls. He just has a history of it, and the offense is still a work in progress. Even though they did add Hopkins, Travis Kelsey is not Travis Kelsey. They just got Kareem Hunt is back. They had a few years ago that they he came
Well,
back,
the receivers are all
but
hurt.
they're
I mean,
on
that's what they're
offense.
hurt.
Yeah, but they're but they still got Travis Kelsey, and he's just not Travis Kelsey right now. I
Well,
don't know what it is, but he's just
Well, I think because the receivers are hurt. Remember, what makes tight end so good is when you got a deep threat, right? So without that deep threat, Travis Kelsey you can key on. You don't have to worry about it, right? Travis Kelsey's that middle. He's in the middle lane there, and Travis Kelsey's also 34 years old. But I'm just saying they're 5-0, and now adding Andre Hopkins. I mean, remember we talked about this last year. Their offense looked terrible last year. Okay, the defense carried them. When we went to the playoffs, their offense went from turning the ball over to one turnover on the entire playoffs and winning the Super Bowl. So remember, they're the only ones that can turn the switch,
turn the
right?
switch.
But do you agree? We said that last year. If there's only one team that can flip that switch in the playoffs, it's going to be Kansas City because they got that quarterback called Patrick Mahomes.
You both nailed it on the head. When you think of the Kansas City Chiefs, what do you think of? Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, woohoo, offense, Patrick Mahomes. Well, this is a defensive team. They have one of the best defenses in the league, and Spags is, if not the best defensive coordinator in the league, he's really up there. It is a defensive juggernaut that just happens to be winning because they have the best quarterback in the league. But yeah, but you really can't blame Mahomes. And oh, what's wrong with Kelsey? He's 35. He finally fell off the cliff. Plus, he's in love.
And
that haircut, I want to worry about football.
That haircut's got to go though. Oh my God,
yeah, that's
a bad haircut.
If she likes it, that's all that matters.
She likes it. That's all that matters.
That's right.
Hey, shit. If she liked my haircut, I'll change my color orange.
Exactly. She whatever she wants. But yeah, they're who do they have on offense? Rasheed Rice is hurt. Pacheco's hurt.
Yes.
Juju is hurt.
Hollywood Brown is hurt.
They're all hurt. So he has nobody to throw to.
But just imagine when this crew comes back with Andre Hopkins when it counts. They're only 7 games into there's only 5 games. They're 5-0. They're only 5 games into the season. They got 12 more games to get all those guys back. Can you imagine what's going to happen then?
You got to remember, DeAndre Hopkins was basically the number 1 wide receiver a few years ago. Yeah, he's past his prime, but he is still awesome. And I don't think the Chiefs have ever had somebody with his physical skill set. So it could be a very interesting situation. I could see Hopkins exploding with the Chiefs. And I think they should get maybe one more receiver, maybe trade for someone else, and they're going to be unstoppable because of that defense. And Mahomes is just going to do just enough. Heck, Mahomes right now has more interceptions than touchdowns, and they're undefeated. Imagine when he gets going with a good offense.
He could have Slayton. The Giants didn't want to trade receiver. They got Slayton.
If you want to give Slayton, well, the Steelers will take him. We need a receiver.
Yeah, give him away. The season's already shot anyway.
So now we're just going to surrender as many players as possible.
Yeah,
sell. You still think the Cowboys are for sale?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're always for sale, man. Everybody has a price.
Everybody has a price. Hey, look. Hey, speaking of your Detroit Lions, let me tell you something. I'm happy for Jared Goff too, because he got dissed at the Rams. I always liked him from the beginning, and I'm happy he's playing really good football these last couple games. I
Where
mean,
did that come from? Because he was lousy with the Rams.
nah, he was good, man. He was always a good quarterback. He was a first round pick. He had the talent. It just didn't fit for him there.
He took him to the Super Bowl and they lost like 13-3 or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, and then he ends up on the Lions and just explodes. He was basically just a throwaway, just like, oh, we want Stafford. I was like, oh, here, take off. Got all right off our hands. He was just a throwaway in a deal, and
But
he's like the main man in the Lions. It's amazing.
and I'm gonna start my usual mess. And look what the Lions have done in 3 years. They
Four
went from
now.
fourth year. They went from whatever to this. They drafted quarterback. They drafted well. They had free agents pick up, and now look at them.
And
Yeah.
great coaching.
And look, Byron, for all for nothing, it wasn't a fluke season because sometimes you have teams like Detroit that have one good season last year. They're still good.
They're good.
You know what I mean?
They're
Do you agree? There's teams that all of a sudden have this, banner year and then fall off the plan. I mean, because look at the Rams; they were terrible after they won the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
right? But Detroit is a good, solid team. Like
Yeah, but
they're good. And
the only
they were
problem-
saying about Detroit one thing, Byron, when they were like at the Pro Bowl or something, they were saying like there was something different about the Detroit Lion players that they were all hanging together. Like they were a unit, you know what I mean? They weren't going and visiting. They were it was like they were sticking together. Wherever they would go, you would see a bunch of the Lion players together. And that's pretty impressive. And that's Dan Quinn, right? It's Quinn?
No,
Campbell.
Dan Campbell.
Dan
Quinn
Campbell.
Quinn is the guy in Washington who's actually also
I
doing a
keep-
good job.
Yeah, but
But yeah.
Dan Campbell's doing a hell of a job, though.
He's doing a hell of a job because Detroit were losers for the last basically since Barry Sanders. They've been
50
losers for decades. And for someone to go in and change that losing culture is amazing. That's an amazing job Dan Campbell is doing.
I wasn't a believer until the end of last year. Because of the way they were losers. And, I always feel like when you have that kind of stigma, like you can't get past that, right? It's like, it's just Detroit. They're going to do what they're going to do. It's like Minnesota. They're going to do what they're going to do, and they're going to blow it up, right? But they proved me wrong, and they're playing great. And with Jared Goff playing the way he's playing, they're going to be dangerous. I mean, the league is just got some good teams in there. You know what I mean? And then it's got teams on paper that look good, like Philadelphia, and then it's a disaster.
The only problem with Detroit is that they lost Hutchinson for the year with the leg injury. So they're going to have to. They might scoop up a edge rusher to go along with what they have, but they do
I
need
thought they
that guy
did.
to.
They picked up somebody, no?
No, they need an edge rusher. Like, hey, the Giants have that guy, Azeez Ojulari. They could trade him there.
Right.
There you go.
Oh,
Sell,
man, stop getting rid of our players, Byron.
Sell.
Yeah, well, sell. You better sell and get something in return because obviously we didn't sell Barkley, and we should have sold him if we were going to do anything, or trade him. I hate to use the word sell, but and then last one piece I want to leave here because I want to start getting into this a little bit, and this year is coming. Hey, the WNBA Finals Game 5 had the highest viewership in 25 years. Let me tell you something. I watched that game. That was a great game. I'm happy for WNBA basketball. I'm looking forward to next year. We're going to probably do a WNBA podcast on that, talk more about the women's sports. I like women's basketball. I want to ask you a question. Remember, Byron, I always said it. Why I watched women's basketball, even when I coached AAU, was because they play fundamental basketball, and you have to have multiple players to win. You can't have two, like the big three, right? You have to have players, don't get me wrong, but you have to have players all around. And I was really happy for New York winning. I don't know about that call at the end. I can't pick and choose on that one, but I'm happy to see that women's basketball is really taking the high. And I've enjoyed it. I've watched a lot more women's basketball this year than I ever have, definitely because of Caitlin Clark, but that led me to start watching some other games. Like I did watch the finals. I was watching the finals while it was going on. I was watching some of the other games. I'm a big Kelsey Plum fan. I think she's just awesome. But I don't know if you watched any of it, Byron or Joe. But these girls can play, man.
I watched the last game. Who was she married to? Kelsey Plum. Wasn't she married to Darren Waller?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We see how that worked.
I think she made him retire.
Yeah,
Oh.
For 1 year.
Yeah, they weren't married long.
No, they were married long. She's beautiful and she's a baller, man. Let me tell you, she's a baller.
There was
I
that
want
one
to know
clip
how
of
happened to
her.
Brianna Stewart. She played terrible the last game. I watched that the final, and Stewart
Yeah,
was
but I don't think.
off her game.
Yeah, but she's the one who got the game into overtime though. You're talking about ice. She
Yeah.
was the foul that was called on her, and she had to make 2 free throws to put into overtime. And whenever she needed to make free throws, she makes them. She's a
Well,
stud,
don't forget she had already missed 2 prior to hitting those 2,
right? But she made the 2 when it counted, with
and they
no
were like
time off.
2 for 19 with 3. So yeah, it was a
Yeah.
bad night shooting.
What's her name was terrible too. Anesco. She didn't play
Yeah.
well, and but I saw one game that she carried the team. So it's amazing how. But Brianna Stewart, man, you can't take anything away from that girl. She's got 4. She won 4 championships in college, right? She's won a couple WNBA championships, and now she's
Gold
won
medal.
one in New York. She's got several gold medals. That girl, she is an all-around player, man. Joe, any thoughts on that before we sign off?
I didn't give one care about women's basketball before Caitlin Clark. When Caitlin Clark was in college, I started following her in college. Now she's in the WNBA. Now I'm starting to follow the WNBA. She is single-handedly lifting this sport up. And yeah, she wasn't in the finals, and that's great that people are paying attention to it now. I hope the Indiana Fever can become a better team. They made the playoffs. I hope they could get to that level where they could start making the WNBA finals. But yeah, it's a great thing, and you're right. It is a great sport. It's a great sport because it's not. It is fundamental. There's no, alley-oops. There's no dunks and stuff like that. It's just fundamental basketball. And yeah, there's some good stuff going on there.
Well, they made a comment on one of the sports channels. I want to see what you're thinking. They were asking if they think they should maybe lower the rim to maybe 9.5 to give the ability to dunk.
No.
What are your thoughts on that?
No.
Okay, I agree, and others agree because they say they want to see them dunk, and they go, look, the girls don't dunk. That's not the thing. And at the end of the day, what I like women's basketball, and I've always said it. I mean, even though I didn't watch it as much, but I used to watch college, is wasn't the dunking, it's the fundamentals, them passing the ball, the ones, the unselfishness. You know what I mean? Their ability, and now I'm seeing the game that I didn't watch as much. I mean, these girls can play. I mean, and I realize you have to have enough of the right players in place to play. Like your bench has to be deep enough. You have to have you need to have a tall person. You need to have a good point guard. You need to have good 3-point shooters. Like you have to build a unit to win because AJ Wilson, right? Is that right? Aja Wilson. Yep. I mean, with the Aces, as great as she is, she couldn't carry them through to the playoffs again. You know what I mean? Now they won 2 times in a row, so we got to give her credit. I'm just saying to you, even with the best player, when you have multiple players around you, it makes a big difference. So kudos to the WNBA. Joey, tell us about the donut bag and your show and how our fans can get a hold of you and hear some more about Pittsburgh and tell us what's happening on the grounds of Pittsburgh. And let me know. Yeah.
Donut Bag podcast, Mondays at 7. Except for this week because they're playing Monday Night Football where they will beat the Giants. But it is a Russell Wilson appreciation podcast. It was the life and times of Russell Wilson, past, present, and future. We'll eat Subway sandwiches with his name on it, and actually, a local place, Permanis, is making their own Russell Wilson sandwich. So yeah, it's a Steelers podcast. We talk Steelers.
Mm-hmm. All righty, well, appreciate it, Byron. As always, go for the go Lions.
Go.
And so don't forget to tune in our show every Thursday. What time, Byron? 8 p.m. and hopefully I'll be a little bit less under the weather. I'm glad you guys gave me a little bit of energy. You could tell that I'm still a little bit tired. Joe, don't forget on your show that, the Jersey Boy Sports guy, Victor Rocho, made the call. Russell Wilson's going to ball.
Go to the videotape.
You and Tomlin. You're the only one to
ball. That's right. I believe in Tomlin. I believe in Wilson. I do like Justin Fields, but I said it from the get-go. Russell Wilson, unless it's Russell Wilson's job to lose.
Go to
That's
the
what it
videotape.
is. Go to videotape. Yeah, but see, Byron now wants to go to videotape because he doesn't want to agree. All right, gentlemen. God bless. Have a good night. Blessings to your families, and we will talk soon. And I'm glad I'm not traveling for a little while. We'll talk. All righty. Take
Get
care,
well
guys.
soon.
Bye. Peace.